This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Got basketball tonight at Bud Walton Arena. Arkansas versus Louisiana Tech. Women's basketball tonight. Brett will be on the call on SEC Plus. I'll have it on the radio. Brett, good afternoon. How you doing?
Great, Phil. Yeah, looking forward to another game. They really never stop. They just change sports and change seasons, but we'll be there and be ready to go tonight.
Have you been doing volleyball too?
I did 3 volleyballs last weekend around 2 basketballs. So that was my first non-football weekend, and I had 5 games in 4 days. So I survived. It was fun, but ready for a little slower pace here during finals week, I think.
I think I've heard the terminology, I'll be mellow when I'm dead. That sounds like you these days. Today is actually an historic game at Bud Walton Arena. Makayla Daniels sets the record for games played at Arkansas. This will be the 132nd game that she plays as a Razorback. She started every one of them, and that makes her the all-time leader in games played. If Devo is Mr. Razorback, this is Miss Razorback.
I appreciate you doing some prep for us on the TV aspect. We can throw a couple graphics up on the screen and talk about that. And you're right, it's been very similar, comparable career, not just playing 5 years or being here, but pretty much starting every single game for Devo and every single game for Makayla. And I can't imagine anybody's ever going to come after this and surpass it once we get through these COVID years. So it's been quite a run for both.
Brett, with the Final Four coming out for college football, and we got our matchups now. I got Washington and Alabama. I got Alabama beating Michigan and Washington beating Texas. Now we got a while to talk about it, but I just wanted to get your initial thoughts and who do you got playing for the national championship?
Yeah, right. I'm trying to digest that all myself. I think we have 4 good teams, and it feels like, Matt, in recent years what we've had is maybe 2 good teams, a third possibility, and a 4th team that snuck in. That's not the case this year. I mean, I feel like even as Alabama is a number 4, they could win a national championship, but that's probably why they're in over Florida State. I don't think the thought was that the Seminoles could, but Michigan is kind of just gone about their business in an uninspiring way over the last month, but they keep winning. Alabama has forced their way in. Washington is better than I thought. I picked Oregon last week, and I really felt like the Ducks were going to get them. They did not. And it can create some fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And Texas, too. I mean, I thought Texas was good, Matt, but I didn't think they were maybe as good as they played this past weekend. But they put the pedal down. They tried to get a few style points, too, and it clearly worked out for them. So I don't know. I'd be inclined to pick Michigan to take down Alabama, but I do think that's going to be a crazy good game.
But there's not a clear – I mean, is there really a clear-cut favorite in this? I don't know if there is.
I don't think so.
And every year there seems like there is a clear-cut favorite. I don't think there is one right now.
No, and obviously we talked about it last week, Phil, and I thought your question, I even thought about it after you asked me, what is the definition of the best team, and how do you break that down in your mind? And I think it has to be kind of a combination of resume and eye test. And what Georgia and Michigan had for a bulk of the year was there was no blemishes on their resume, and the eye test followed. Once you lose a game like Georgia, then you have a blemish, and then we can all kind of poke a hole in them. And when you get down to this Final Four teams, Michigan again and Washington, whether it's Texas or Alabama, I think you can make a pretty compelling case for all 4 of those teams. So maybe this is the perfect time to segue to a larger playoff. I'm going to miss this debate, though, Phil. I'm going to miss this conversation. If I was Florida State, I wouldn't miss it. But I think anybody else, I just enjoy how much these games mean throughout the course of the year. Even September games we're talking about, and even these conference championship games, which I'm not a big fan of, obviously played a huge role in deciding these Final Four teams.
Yeah, I like Washington's running back, number 7. Phil and I were just talking about him. He runs downhill pretty nice. Washington has some nice pieces, and that being said, their quarterback's up for the Heisman with Bo Nix, Penix, and then you got Daniels and Harrison Jr. going up there. I don't know. Who do you think is going to be the better pro out of those 4 guys? Well,
I think Harrison Jr. will be the best pro. I think there's a lot of NFL teams that would have loved to have had him this year. I didn't know if he would get in that mix. I had Ohio State for the first game. We had them at Indiana in week 1. And I said at the time, and I kind of got scoffed at, that I felt like Harrison Jr. could be a Heisman candidate. And for a long portion of this year, he didn't have as good of a season as he did last year, and clearly not having C.J. Stroud was part of that. But he found his way back in. I think he's a big-time pro. I'm glad he's getting an opportunity to be at the Heisman. He won't win it, mind you, but I do think he might have the best NFL career of that quartet.
How many of them did you see in person? Like, you saw some of the best teams in college football this year. You saw Michigan twice, right?
Yeah.
Saw Michigan twice, and I saw Daniels early, and I thought he was the most exciting player I saw, and one that you couldn't take your eyes off of. I saw McCarthy a couple of times, and there was a few weeks ago where he was kind of the odds-on favorite, and then Michigan just did not offensively tear it up in the last month, and they didn't have to with their defense. I didn't get to see Nix or Penix. I saw Caleb Williams. I've seen Penix in person a couple of times before. Nix was the one I would have loved to have had a chance to see. So it's unusual. Usually I get to this time of the year, I've seen 3 or 4, but I just saw 2 of these 4 Heisman guys this season, at least in person.
So you guys are doing the Gator Bowl, right? Touchdown Radio? Gator Bowl later this month?
Touchdown is. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to do it because a lot of my colleagues are there in Jacksonville. I'm going to do the Texas Bowl for sure with Texas A&M and Oklahoma State, and then hopefully the Gator Bowl maybe too. So it'll be sort of a busy Christmas season, but I'd take more if someone else wants me to go call another bowl game someplace. I'd hop in because I'm one of the few that loves bowl games.
You see, Matt, he'll be mellow when he's dead.
It's a pretty good gig if you can get it, man. You get to watch some great talent. You do a great job. I get to hear you and Manny a little bit watching the basketball games, and it's always a joy.
You know, it's what Phil and I do. You know, it's crazy. We just kind of bounce from one season to the next, and I guarantee you Phil's already looking ahead to Arkansas baseball, and I am too. He's starting to think about February, and that'll be here in the blink of an eye, and we'll kind of just segue from basketball into college baseball or softball, and away we go. These seasons continue to overlap, and then it makes for crazy times, doesn't it, Phil, in the Novembers of the years and in the Februarys and the Marches?
March is craziness. Utter craziness. Yeah, my dentist asked the other day, you want to schedule your 6-month cleaning? Like, what month are we looking at? March. I'll just have dirty teeth.
No.
Not happening.
That would be a no.
Brett, you said Daniels was the most exciting football player you saw this year. Does he have a little bit of that Johnny Manziel to him? Do you think his game translates to the next level?
That's a great question. I'd kind of be curious to sit down with some NFL guys and take a look at him. I think his speed is dynamic, and I was surprised how fast he was. Caleb Williams was a guy that I think is always faster than he looks because he looks a little squatty at times, and he always seems to run away from people. Daniels has a track gait to him, and it's incredible. You know, there's the rushing yards he picked up, and you can't get 200 passing or 300 passing and 200 rushing in a game if you aren't able to put up big-time plays. You're going to get sacked once in a blue moon. You're going to need the 40 and 50-yard runs. He's very capable of doing that, and I like his arm too. You know, sometimes when you start breaking down quarterbacks, it's a little bit above my pay grade on what translates to the NFL, but his skill set seems to, again, have a little bit of Lamar Jackson to him too, and he's the guy that I can compare him to. When I saw Lamar one time with Louisville in person, it was dynamic, the combination of speed and arm strength and whatnot, and Daniel certainly has the speed, and he's put up just eye-popping numbers this year. So I hope the kid gets a chance to be a pro. I know he will. I don't know what he'll look like when he gets to the NFL or what situation he will be in with coaches and teams. But, you know, it's kind of hard to win the Heisman if he does this week without being able to play the last Saturday when everybody's watching the conference championship games. But his numbers have stood up there while everybody else's have kind of taken a hit from one week or another. And he's the last guy standing, I think, and hopefully he gets a shot at the NFL, not just to play, he will do that, but to be a star.
Brett, where's Ohtani going to sign? I think it's the Dodgers because I think he fits.
I do too.
I think he fits as far as like the iconic international star. I mean, you can even, it wasn't international, but Jackie Robinson was. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that has happened in American history. Truthfully, you look at Fernando. You look at Hideo Nomo. I think he's going to the Dodgers. I think that's not why. I think they got all the money in the world, and you know some of that money's coming off the books. I think he's going to the Dodgers.
I do too, and I think he's got a little bit of old grandma, old lady in him. I think he's very comfortable where he's at, and if the Angels were at least respectable, I think he would probably want to stay there from the comfort standpoint. He's used to that organization, but he can kind of stay in the same market and get a bunch bigger payday and have a chance to win or win championships. So I would probably vote with you. I'd take L.A., but anytime he wants to make his decision, he can. It seems like he might be really kind of struggling with certain aspects of this. The pay won't be one he'll struggle with. He knows he's going to get paid. It's just a question of where he's going to want that fit, and I'm sure the teams want to know if there's any possibility of him pitching the year after next or not, or whether he's strictly going to be a hitter, considering the $400, $500, $600 million they're talking about.
Brett, did you watch Kansas State at all this year or last year with A&M getting Colin Klein as their new OC? Just if you got to watch him play, because I remember Klein, wasn't he a quarterback at Kansas State so many years ago?
And a good one. And I guess I'm so old now, I remember calling some of his games when he played at Kansas State, and then calling some of the games that he's coached in as well. Kansas State is one of those programs that I've enjoyed, and maybe it's because as an Iowa guy, I just appreciate the business-like consistency. They're not extremely flashy, but they always seem to have a great deal of success, maybe doing more with less when it comes from a talent standpoint. You shouldn't have to worry about having less talent at A&M, but I think it's kind of a fun hire. I think this kid has a chance to be pretty good. So I was intrigued by it, and good for him, because he never did have the professional career that I'm sure he wanted, but he might have a chance to coach for a long time.
It does start to feel like Elko is a really good fit at A&M, doesn't it? Defensive oriented, and they haven't looked at a defensive head
Colin
coach
Klein
in a long time.
He was a tough kid when he was a quarterback. Yeah,
there's something about, I don't know. There's something. Maybe this might be the guy to get A&M to the next level. Jimbo obviously wasn't. Sumlin wasn't. The list kind of goes on and on.
A little more substance, not enough. Maybe Sumlin had more flash. Is what you're getting at Elko?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I don't know if Elko is a flashy type of guy, but no one's going to care if he can win 10 games consistently and just improve upon 8 wins, which they seem to be stuck at for a number of years. So, I thought Jimbo was going to have a chance to succeed. It didn't work out. Now that you hear kind of the horror stories that are being leaked out after the fact, it doesn't sound like that was going to work, and that's why they ate $77 million. And Elko will come with a smaller price tag, but maybe he'll come with much more success.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.